Welcome back to another episode of Those Two Dudes, guys. It's that dude, Josh.
That's that dude, Ruben.
Man, we are back on the college football train. We're back on it this time. We're covering the Big 10 conference. Super excited. As always, guys, don't forget, like and subscribe. Those Two Dudes at Those Two Dudes podcast on Instagram, Those Two Dudes on YouTube, Those Two Dudes on Spotify, Those Two Dudes on Facebook. I don't even know, something AOL related, I guess. I don't know. We're everywhere, guys. Check us out for all things sports and even some crazy pop culture out there. But that dude, Josh, let him know. Let him know who the special guests are today.
Yes, so we got another big time joint effort, and we're going back. We got some more Sidelines guys with us. Again, Sideline Sports Network is one of the fastest growing sports media entities in the nation right now. We have people covering just about everybody. I'm with Sidelines Texas State. Today we got with us another Josh representing Sidelines Michigan, and we have Eric representing Sidelines Illinois. Guys, we appreciate you coming on. Josh, go ahead and plug yourself a little bit.
Hey guys, my name is Josh Ogdale, and I run the Michigan account for Sideline Sports. If you guys want to give it a follow, it's at SSN_Michigan. It's a great account. And then if you guys also want to follow my personal Twitter, I'm pretty big on Michigan Twitter. So if you're interested in anything Michigan Wolverines, it's at UMFan Ogdale, which is my last name. So if you guys want to give those two accounts a follow, I would really appreciate it. I'm really trying to grow those pages. So thank you guys for having me on.
Absolutely. And Eric, go ahead and plug yourself a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Josh. My name is Eric Bullock. I run the Sidelines U of I account. That'll be on Twitter at SSN_Illini. I also run the Big 10 conference account. So if you're just looking for like a casual gloss over of the entire conference, that'll be at SSN_B1G. So yeah, I'm excited, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
Cool, guys. All right. Well, hey, but without further ado, man, let's dive into it. We're going to break down the East and West division. I know one is probably a little bit harder than the other. So look, let's dive right into the East, guys. That dude, Josh, you want to start it off, man? Let us know your East predictions.
Yes. So out East, who else we going to go with other than Ohio State? Coming off another playoff appearance last year, 7-1 record. Didn't play full schedule because of COVID, but they still found themselves in the playoffs. The offense returned 7 starters. They returned both their 2 leading receivers, I believe. The big thing with the offense is you just got to find a replacement at quarterback for Justin Fields. If they're able to do that, then you can expect them probably to compete for a playoff spot again. But it is important that they are able to find somebody to replace Justin Fields at quarterback, because the defense, they did have some issues last year, especially in the passing game on defense, and they're only returning 4 starters to that unit this year. So it's important that offense doesn't miss a beat. But even though they're only returning 4 starters on defense, they're one of those teams like Clemson and Bama that more or less rebuild and
plug and play,
or reload and don't rebuild. So until proven otherwise, it's hard to go with anybody else. So I got Ohio State as my number 1 team out East. In my number 2 slot, I'm gonna stay on the Indiana train. I like what they were doing last year. I like what Tom Allen, their head coach, is doing. They do return Michael Penix as well as 8 starters on offense. The offense wasn't great last year, but it was good enough to have them as one of the better teams in the Big 10. And the defense was pretty solid as well. And they're returning 9 of 11 starters on that side of the ball as well. The big thing for them is maybe a little bit more consistency on offense. And most importantly, Michael Penix he's got to stay healthy. So if he can stay healthy and they can maybe take another step on offense, I see them. I don't see them beating Ohio State, but I can see them getting that number 2 spot again. So I'm rolling with them as my 2 in the East. And then my sleepers, Penn State. So they started last year off 0-5, I believe, and then they won their last 4 games of the season. One of those first close losses, though, out of those 5 losses was against Indiana, which I think they had a 1-point overtime loss. And then they lost another game by 7, I believe. So I mean, it could have very easily been different. Penn State recruits well. I think they're well coached. They're returning a bunch on both sides of the ball. Yeah, and if you look at their offense and defensive numbers, the numbers weren't as bad as their record was. So I think they'll have a bounce back year. Good chance for them to also get that second spot. But I decided to roll with Indiana there. How about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, tell us, Josh, Michigan Josh, what do you think, man?
I'm kind of in the same boat as you with that top 3. I think it's pretty obvious Ohio State is on the top of the East. They're as talented as ever, and I don't see anyone really close to them. Indiana, I think, will be their biggest challenge. I think Penix could possibly be the best quarterback in the Big Ten this year if he really plays well. He's going to be a really great piece for them, and with them returning 8 starters, I think although their offense wasn't as great last year, it's going to definitely improve. Penn State, I think a lot of people are high on, and I think that's because they ended the season really strong. And then at 4th, I have Michigan. I'm a little higher. I mean, I'm a little biased, of course, but I'm still a lot higher. I think I'm a lot higher than most are. I think Michigan as a team was very negatively affected by the COVID pandemic, losing their top wide receiver, losing their top DB. And this year they return a lot of production on the offense, and I think they could turn some heads a little bit. I think Hassan Haskins is a great running back for us. I think Cade, he looked solid in the little playing time he got, Cade McNamara, and I have them at 8-4 so far. So after that, it's kind of I got Maryland 5th, Michigan State 6th, and then Rutgers 7th.
Now you got Rutgers last. I'm kind of on board with Greg Schiano over there.
I think Greg Schiano is definitely got them moving in the right direction. I just think they're just still a little bit far behind talent-wise compared to the rest of the Big Ten. But I definitely like what Greg Schiano is doing over there in at Rutgers.
Cool. Yeah, like that. Okay. Eric, Illinois. Tell me, man, what are your picks on the East?
All right, so I'm going to break some barriers with this hot take here. You guys,
Love it.
I don't think you're ready for it. Strap in. Number 1 pick out of the East is the Buckeyes, because of course they are. I mean, come on. Who else are we going to pick besides the Buckeyes? So last year they averaged 519 yards and 41 points a game. So just a dynamic, high-powered offensive machine. Like Josh said, the biggest question is going to be replacing now Chicago Bears quarterback Justin Fields. But in classic Ohio State fashion, like you guys said, they just plug and play. They've got multiple talented options to plug in there at quarterback. They got CJ Stroud, Jack Miller, and then the new shiny toy in Quinn Ewers. Quinn, yeah. Ewers, if pronouncing that correctly.
I'm telling you.
What was that?
I just said it gets old quick.
What, the new quarterback?
Yeah, just like being a rival fan and just seeing them just reload. It gets tough, man.
I can only imagine. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think they're set to replace him. It's hard to imagine being able to replace a first-round quarterback, but I think they've got the talent to do so. They also caught a big break in getting their leading receiver to return and senior Chris, is it Olave? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But getting him back was huge. Their O-line is incredibly talented as always. So I think the offensive machine is just going to keep moving full throttle, regardless of losing Fields. Defense is a little more suspect. They lost their two top tacklers from last year, Pete Warner and Tuff Borland. But I do think the D-line is going to be dominant. Their secondary isn't going to be like the classic Ohio State elite secondary. They lost their lead defensive back in Sean Wade, and their veteran safety Marcus Hooker recently got suspended. Don't know for how long, but even an okay Ohio State secondary is going to be good enough to be top tier in the Big Ten. So, yeah, they're my number one, surprisingly enough. Number two, I'm actually going to go with Penn State. Last year, they had a tough time with turnovers. It was really the biggest thing for them. I mean, their offensive production was just like ugly for Penn State standards. That being said, they still finished second behind Ohio State in total yards. So it's there. They just need to clean up, some of the easy mistakes like turnovers. And I do think, Franklin and Co. will be able to get that fixed. In addition to that, Sean Clifford, I think he's set for a big prove-it year. They've got a couple of great wide receivers in Watson and Washington. And their offensive line is actually, I think, going to be really good. I think they had a little bit of struggles last year, but they return all 5 starters. So anytime you can bring that much experience back at such an important position like O-line, I think you're going to be set up for some good things. And then defensively for Penn State, they're called linebacker U for a reason. They're returning their top 2 tacklers in Ellis Brooks and Jesse Lucchetta. Their interior is going to be a big question mark. They lost their top 2 rushers in Jason Owe and Shaka Toney. But their secondary, with what they lost in the front line, they're going to lean on their secondary. They're going to have one of the most experienced secondaries in the Big Ten with 2 super seniors in Castro Fields and Brisker, a stud in Derek Stingley, and 2 other seniors for depth in Sutherland and Brown. So I think they're going to be the number 2 team in the East.
Nice. Okay. Do you have any potential dark horses to come out of the East?
So we mentioned Rutgers, and I don't know. I think the best team to surprise people is the team that people are picking for last place, because anything can happen in a college football season. Like you guys said, I like what Schiano is bringing back to Rutgers. There's this really cool stat that I read in 2019 in a 12-game season. The Knights scored 159 points. In 2018, they scored 162 points in a 12-game season. In just 9 games last year, they scored more points than any previous version since 2015. So even though it was just his first year, he was able to implement a change that hasn't happened for the last, 5 years. Yeah. So like you guys said, I think he's got it going in the right direction. And I think they could turn some heads in Schiano's second year.
They also return a lot too on both sides of the ball, I believe. Mm-hmm. So that's something.
Hey, that'd be nice to see, man. It's always good to see. In Rutgers' case, a fresh-faced back kind of on top. So it'd be really nice to see Rutgers do well. It really would. Solid picks, Eric. Look, it's unanimous for myself. It's Ohio State. Right. If you got anybody else taking the East, you don't watch college football. They just, reload like everybody's been saying here. The quarterback would be the biggest issue if they already didn't have 3 studs just waiting in the wings. And CJ Stroud, Jack Miller, and then, of course, with Quinn foregoing his senior year in high school to attend Ohio State early just so he can get paid. But also, he's a stud too. So it should be CJ Stroud's job, but look, it's a good problem to have. You got nothing but studs there. Second place, I got Penn State for all the reasons that Eric said. And then I was kind of torn between my dark horse. I was torn between my dark horse and my second place because I really like Indiana, My only issue with Indiana is Michael Penix is coming off a torn ACL. So if he can stay healthy, obviously that's key. He's I think he could be a potential Heisman hopeful, if he stays healthy. But then also Indiana has a really tough schedule this year. They got at Michigan, at Iowa, at Penn State, then of course home against Ohio State, but then they're also home against Cincinnati. And Cincinnati's a really good team. So, keep a lookout for that Cincinnati Indiana game. That's going to be a really good game.
That'll be a fun one.
Yeah. So I think because of that tough schedule, I picked Michigan. I think Josh at Michigan was underselling them, man, to kind of go out of this for the dark horse because they do have a favorable schedule. They got Ohio State at home. I know that really doesn't mean anything being 0-5 with Harbaugh there against Ohio State, but ever since he's been there, it seems like their biggest issue has always been quarterback. So like you said, they have Cade McNamara, but they just got the transfer from Texas Tech, Alan Bowman. He lights it up, man. I've seen him at Tech. He can light it up. So if maybe he can sneak in there, steal that job. The O-line, I think, still needs to get better, but I think Michigan, if I think with Bowman under center and that O-line gets better, I think they could make some noise. Not saying obviously they're going to take the East, but they could make more noise than people are giving them credit for. But yeah, that's my East. And then also kind of like you guys says, last place, I do not have Rutgers. I have Maryland in last because I got Rutgers one notch above Maryland. They're moving up, so they'll be okay. But yeah, super excited for that. All right, guys, let's move over to the west side of things. That dude, Josh, what do you think, man?
All right, so the West, as we kind of spoke about earlier, is a little bit more difficult. I think the West is wide open, honestly. I know everybody's going Wisconsin. I'm going to go Wisconsin as well, my number one spot, but I honestly think it's wide open. I think Iowa and Wisconsin are very similar. I'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, I'm going with Wisconsin, number one. They were 4-3 last year in a shortened season. They got 7-11 starters back on offense, including their quarterback, Graham Merritt. They do have 3 offensive linemen coming back. However, their offense wasn't very good last year. If you look at their numbers, I think they were like 100 and something in total, like 103 or something in total offense, 130 teams. The good news for them, though, like I said, they do got 8 of 11 defensive players coming back, and the defense was in the top 10 in the nation in both scoring and total defense. So the defense is going to keep them in games. It really comes down to, can they take a step forward on offense? If they can, they'll probably win the West. But to challenge Ohio State, they're going to have to take a big step forward on offense. And I don't know that that's going to happen, but I do think with their defense returning so much and last year being one of the top teams in the nation on that side of the ball, that they'll be able to get through the West. Number 2, I got Iowa. Like Wisconsin, offense is not really great, but their defense was also a top 10 defense in the nation last year. They have a little bit more to replace. That's kind of why I cemented Wisconsin as my number 1 team in the West, is because their defense, they returned 7 of the 11 starters, but they only returned 1 player on the defense front. And that's a critical area to be successful at. So they're going to have to shore up that D line. And likewise, they're going to have to take a step forward on offense. So I rolled with them as my number 2 team. As far as the sleeper goes, again, I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if anybody won that side of the division, or won that division. But I like, for whatever reason, I like PJ Fleck. So I'm going with Minnesota as my dark horse team. I don't have a strong reasoning, but I do like their coach, so I'm rolling with them as a sleeper.
Well, your strong reasoning is you like PJ Fleck because of what he did at Western Michigan. So
yeah, that, and he's done pretty decent to start off with at Minnesota. So
yeah, that first year he was pretty decent. Okay. Josh from Michigan, man, tell us what are your predictions on the West?
Yeah, and like Josh here, I think the West is very wide open. I also have Wisconsin at number 1. I think that they're just definitely the most talented, and they did bring back Graham Mertz again, correct?
Yep.
At QB. Yep. So I also have Iowa at number 2. Iowa is kind of one of those teams that's just like always in the discussion. It seems like they always seem to be like up there in the top 3 in the West. And I actually have Northwestern at number 3. And I know they do lose a lot. They only return 4 starters each on both sides of the ball, but they had a really good year last year, making it to the Big 10 championship. And Pat Fitzgerald is a great coach, so I kind of have them as a dark horse in the West there because
that's a good pick. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I got Minnesota right behind them at number 4. So
nice.
In the West, I think it's pretty wide open, but I think that's definitely your base, like top 4 right there.
I like that. Okay. Eric, tell us, man, is yours any different?
Man, I love how the West is wide open, but it's boom, Wisconsin, boom, Iowa.
Yeah.
That's what it is, right? Like Wisconsin's number 1 for all the reasons you guys said. And I really think, like Josh was saying, Texas State, Josh, the difference that it's going to be for them to try and actually compete with the likes of Ohio State is how good can Graham Mertz be? So he, like Michigan, Josh was saying, he got on the scene last year, right? And made a splash, and people are like, man, who's this playmaker, Wisconsin playmaker at quarterback? Like, that's not a phrase that we've said before. And the dude can make plays. So if he can have a big sophomore like season, Wisconsin could very well hang around with the likes of Ohio State.
Awesome. If there was ever a year, it'd be this year for them to knock on Ohio State's door. So yeah, that'd be nice to see somebody else.
No doubt. And yeah, like you guys were saying, number 2, Iowa, for the same reasons Michigan Josh was saying. They're just a well-coached team. They're always in the top of the West. They actually have a quarterback that can push the ball down the field in Petras. And their offensive line is always good, just like Wisconsin. Like they're the top 2 teams, I think. But I do agree there's a bigger gap between the top 2 teams in the East and the top 2 teams in the West. It's just funny how it's wide open, but it's the same top 2 teams for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
My sleeper pick, this is going to sound really biased. Not sleeper to win the West. I don't think they'll win the West. I do think they'll be better than what a majority of people think they will be, and that's with the University of Illinois. And I say this because Brett lucked out with the COVID season because he brought back every senior from last year's team that should have graduated. So he's got like 12 or 13 super seniors.
Wow.
He returns, 81% of last year's production offensively and defensively, which I think is only behind Wisconsin, maybe, as far as experience goes. So they've got experience, and I have a feeling that Brett is just going to breathe like a new life into these kids. That, no disrespect to Lovey. Lovey was a good face for the program, and he was a steady hand at the wheel when, trust me, the program needs it. But now they need life. They need excitement. And I think Brett's going to bring that to this team. I think they're going to outperform most people's expectations.
Dude, I love that. And I know, you and I talked off air about that. So that it's exciting what's going to be brought back with Illinois and what could happen here in the upcoming seasons. But I know, look, we've all been saying, oh yeah, the West is pretty open, yet we all have the same picks of the top 2, because I have Wisconsin and Iowa also in the top 2. And I think the difference for me is both Wisconsin and Iowa have a favorable schedule. Wisconsin's bringing back Graham Mertz, like you guys said. He's pretty good. They got high hopes from this year. Wisconsin's biggest issue is they haven't found a running game yet, and it seems like they're still not over losing Jonathan Taylor. So I think once they can figure that out, against Iowa, the biggest game of the year for them is going to be Iowa at Wisconsin. And because the game's at Wisconsin this year, that's honestly why I have Wisconsin winning the division. Iowa's good. I got them second. Spencer Petras is good. He wasn't that accurate last year, but if he can clean that up this year, I mean, nothing really would surprise me about who takes over the West. As far as the dark horse goes, I mean, I guess it's Northwestern. I really liked them last year. Obviously, a big part of it was having their quarterback Ramsey, but he's not there anymore. So now they have a QB battle between the South Carolina transfer Helinski and the Clemson transfer Hunter Johnson. But they got help on the running game, so we'll see how that goes. But I mean, we said it's open, but we all pick Iowa and Wisconsin. So that's funny how that works. But yeah, I'm excited. But also, like Eric said, super excited to see Illinois come in. Brett Bielema, I think he can breathe new life into them, just like Shiano Cannon with Rutgers. He's big on the run game. So, man, it really would be exciting because I think Bielema has a little bit easier of a path to get Illinois to compete for the West than Shiano does Rutgers in the East. So, that would be an exciting in its own. But yeah, that's some crazy stats out there about the points that they're scoring. So with Rutgers, so we'll see.
It's definitely a step in the right direction for them, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that dude Josh, man, tell me, I guess we all got Ohio State, Wisconsin. Is there any probable chance Ohio State doesn't win the Big 10 conference?
I mean, like we kind of mentioned, maybe some issues in the secondary. Although they're loaded with talent at the quarterback position, none of it's proven yet. I mean, if there's ever a year, I would say it'd be this year for someone to sneak up on them, and I want to pick Wisconsin, but I don't have enough faith in Wisconsin's offense to pull that trigger. I need to see more from their offense before I can do that. So for that reason, I'm going to roll with the Buckeyes.
Fair. All right, Josh from Michigan, man. What Ohio State taking it?
I mean, as much as I hate to say it, for all the same reasons Josh said, I think Ohio State's going to take it, and I think this is the year that if they were to get taken down, it will be, they with the brand new quarterback and a few issues on defense, but they're just so talented, and they're just in that top group of college football that's just so much further above everyone else. They're in that Alabama, Clemson level. So as top heavy as college football is today, I just don't really see anyone touching them. They're just so good.
Makes sense. Eric, is it unanimous?
So here's what's got to happen. Ohio State needs to have turmoil at the quarterback position. And I'm not just talking like somebody steps up and I'm talking like people are fighting for the job and Ryan Day is second guessing who should be the starter. And 1 week somebody does really great, but the next week they throw 3 picks and they get pulled. Somebody else goes in. If that sort of season happens, Wisconsin could take them. Just exactly what you guys are saying. If the quarterback position doesn't tie a nice bow on the team, then I think they could go down. If somebody, emerges, Ewers comes up and he's just like the next coming of Christ, then we're all screwed for 4 years. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, that's what's got to happen.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair assessment there. And look, guys, just for all the reasons that y'all are saying, if there's any year that it's going to be taken over or someone's knocking on the door to compete against Ohio State, it should be this year, because also looking at their schedule, they got at Indiana this year. They have at Michigan this year. And, traditionally maybe those are fairly walk in the parks for Ohio State standards, but Indiana's pretty decent this year. Michigan could be decent this year. So I don't know. You just never know. It's college football, and that's why we love college football. You just never know. But
I don't know how good Oregon's looking, but yeah, they got Oregon on the schedule too.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Minnesota to start the season.
Yeah.
I mean, could be
Exactly. Yeah, the schedule is there to. I mean, it's there. It's an uphill battle for Ohio State, but again, obviously, all that to say, I have Ohio State winning the Big Ten and inevitably going to the playoffs, which I think we can all agree they would be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But,
no doubt.
One quick question I did have for you guys, and this really goes for any conference, any year, coaching hot seats. Do you guys see any coaches that are on the hot seat this year?
Jim Harbaugh. I mean,
that's every year though, right?
I mean, I will say, unless this year is a complete disaster for Michigan where they don't make a bowl or something, he's going to get at least 2 years with his new staff that he's hired. But he's definitely still on his seat's pretty hot. So I don't think he'll get fired after this year unless it's an absolute disaster of a season, but he's got to prove himself.
I got a few. I mean, Jim Harbaugh's one. Scott Frost, I would say, is another.
Yep.
Scott Frost's seat isn't hot. It's on fire, and it's being lit on fire by the people around him. And
it's on fire as we speak. It's not contingent on how well he does this season. No, it's contingent on, game 1, then game 2. It's that hot.
And then they got those sanctions that came out today too.
That's the main reason why his seat is on fire. Yeah, Eric said it. Eric, you got anybody else hot that's the seat's hot?
Honestly, I was gonna say Frost. I can't think of anybody else in the Big Ten. Maybe Braum. Braum's seat is it's not hot, but maybe lukewarm.
What about Mike Locksley at Maryland? You think he's good?
He came into my mind. I was trying to think what year it is. Is it year 3 for him?
It is year 3 or 4. Let me see.
He does have his solid recruiting going for him, though. He's bringing in some big time recruits.
They have been recruiting better, but it hasn't really turned into wins yet. Yeah, this is year. So it says 2+ years. So I guess he's came in at the end of 1 year. So this should be year 3. Yeah, he probably's got at least 1 more year, a safety net for 1 more year, huh?
Yeah, I would say they're not even in this discussions of thinking about it, regardless of what happens this year. But yeah, if by year 4 they still only have 3 wins, 3 to 4 wins, they'll probably be moving on.
Nice, yeah. Well, look, guys, I'm excited. I'm excited either way because college football's back. College football is, I think, presumably is going to have full attendance at these games, if I'm not mistaken. So that's exciting. I don't honestly at this point, if it's Rutgers and Purdue in the Big Ten championship, or not the Big Ten championship, but just the first week, I'll watch it because I'll be pumped to see a game full with the full audience. I'm pumped for that. But
hey, man, tune in for games to watch. Tune in next Saturday, week 0, Nebraska, Illinois, because it's going to be. I think they're going to pull out all the stops in Champaign. First game for Bielema. I think it's going to be a pretty packed house. I think it's going to be a good environment. Good college football to watch.
I love that. And then also Indiana and Iowa, week 1, right? I think.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a few.
Yeah, so I'm pumped. Hey, Eric, where is that game against Illinois? Is it in Champaign?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's in Champaign, so it's going to be. They're going to pull out all the stops to get people there, get people excited, and get the crowd going.
Can't wait. Oh man, I love it. I love college football. It's back. Let's go.
Back, baby.
Let's do it. So excited. Let's do it, guys. I appreciate the time. Josh from Michigan, tell us, man, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, you can find me at SSN_Michigan for my sidelines account, and at UMFanOgdale, AUGDAHL, and that's my personal. So if you guys want to follow me there, go for it. I'd appreciate it.
Sweet, brother. And that's all on Twitter, right?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. And Eric, where can we find you, man?
Yes, sir. So again, on Twitter at SSN_Illini, ILLINI, and the conference account as well at SSN_B1G. Definitely follow those accounts for your Illini and Big Ten conference sports needs.
Love it. Love it. Guys, reach out to them, follow them, check them out. Love all things Big Ten. As always, like and subscribe us, follow us, those two dudes podcast on Instagram, those two dudes on YouTube, those two dudes on Spotify, those two dudes on Facebook. Josh, what's our Twitter handle also? I'm not, you know that more than I.
Those two dudes won.
Those two dudes won on Twitter. Follow us. Let us know, guys. Let us know in the comments. Did we forget anybody in the Big Ten that we're not talking about? Or did we overhype somebody or underhype somebody? Are we crazy about anything? Or who's your dark horse? Let us know in the comments, guys. Appreciate the love. Appreciate Josh and Eric for joining us today. Thanks a ton, gentlemen. As always, like and subscribe us. It's that dude, Josh.
That's that dude, Ruben.
Like and subscribe. Push the button. Let's go.